Everyone from all Hello, everyone from all around the world. My name is Lawrence Murray, and I am the Executive Director of Admissions and Financial Aid at Dartmouth College's Tuck School of Business. And just for reference, we're in the United States. We're in the northeastern part of the United States, in a small part of the Northeast called New England, in the state of New Hampshire. And the city, the town that the university is in, is called Hanover. So I'm excited to be here to chat with you. As my colleague mentioned, I'll walk through sort of our application process, and we'll talk a little bit about career services and student life. And then at the end, we'll have a chance for questions. So without further ado, I will go ahead and get started. All right, so we are a quarter-based school. So that means we split our academic year into four parts. So what you're looking at here is the start of it's the first year of a program. So we start in the summer. So our students actually, they arrive in about 2 weeks for the Tuck launch, which is our summer, or it's our orientation program. And then they jump right into the summer term. So as you can see here, again, split into four different terms. In the summer, the students are doing analytics, financial accounting, management communications, managerial economics, managing people. In the fall, analytics, capital markets, and strategy, and again, marketing. The winter, corporate finance, global economics for managers, and then you're able to start electives. And then in the spring, there's the first year project, operations management, and then the bookend of the strategy courses, and then you're able to take electives. So we are one of the oldest. We are the oldest organized business school in the United States, and we take enormous pride in our strong core curriculum, and that's what I've just outlined for you. And so we believe so strongly in this that's the bulk of your first year. As you can see, it's pretty prescribed from the summer and the fall, and then you're able to take an elective course in the winter and then one elective course in the spring. We don't have any specializations or concentrations because we really are grounded in general management. That said, in the second year and in the second half of your first year, you're able to start taking elective courses. And we've got a broad variety of courses. You can go to our website under curriculum and see all of the different elective courses. And you can choose whatever pathway that aligns with your interest and your career goals, and sort of cluster the courses together to create an academic experience that, again, aligns with your personal goals, your professional goals, and any interest that you might have. We are also a part of a great university, and we've got a phenomenal engineering school that's right next door. We've got a great medical school and a great College of Arts and Sciences. You also have the ability to take courses outside of the business school as well. So perhaps there are courses in engineering that you might be interested in, or maybe some policy courses that you might take in the School of Arts and Sciences, or perhaps you have an interest in public health and you might want to take some of the public health courses out of the medical school. So you also have the opportunity to take courses outside of the business school. All right, so we talked a little bit about the curricular piece, right? So we've got Tuck Launch, which is our required 2-week orientation. We also have something called Tuck Go. Tuck Go is our global, sort of immersive global experience requirement. We are one of the only schools left in the US that require students, no matter where you're coming from, to have an immersive global experience. You can do that through what we call a GIX, which is a short-term, like 10 to 14-day in-country experience. There's usually some pre-departure work. You go in-country, you have academic sessions, you meet with corporate partners, you meet with lots of different organizations. There's a cultural component, and then you have some sort of deliverable when you come back. Or you could also do a study abroad. So many of you during university may have done student exchange. You have the option to do that as well. Independent studies, research to practice seminars, sprint courses, practicum courses. We have a management in science and quantitative methods option for those students who are interested in the STEM designation. There's a series of courses that you would take that would allow you to get that STEM designation. Part of the experience goes outside of the classroom. So what happens in the classroom is critically important, but also some of the elements or some of the engagement outside of the classroom is equally as important. Tuck Compass is part of our leadership development program. I'll talk a little bit about that later. We've got our centers, we've got student conferences, clubs and activities, and we have a very robust visiting executives and speakers program. And then part of the cornerstone of the Tuck experience is our community. We have about 200 students of an incoming class of about 300 that will live on campus. And so housing options and sort of the on-campus housing community is a critical part of the culture. We do lots of engagements sort of in the evenings and on the weekends. One of those networking engagements is called Tuck Tales. It's like our version of a cocktail hour, and we do that every other week or so. We have our own version of TED Talks called Tuck Talks. We have heritage and history celebrations, cultural chats, student health and wellness, and then we live in a very unique area in Hanover and the Upper Valley. So all of those elements sort of combine to form that really strong sense of community. We talked a little bit about the leadership, and this is just a roadmap of our inclusive leadership initiative. And so if you look down at the bottom, that's the timeline, specifically for the first year. Starts with Tuck Launch, summer, fall, winter, and then spring. And you can see here, looking at the legend, the elements in blue are curricular activities, in gray, it's co-curricular activities, and in green, it's community activities. So you can see over the course of the first year, we are committed to helping students understand what their strengths are, what their areas of vulnerability are, and how the Tuck MBA experience through some of our inclusive leadership activities, as well as some of the curricular activities, will help students address some of those areas for growth and development and help them develop their leadership skills. And that's leadership skills, whether you are leading from the front or you're leading from the middle as an individual contributor. We are committed to helping you prepare to be a leader in whatever capacity that might look like. So lots of activities. You could go on our website and see an expansive overview of some of these activities, but this is just a snapshot. All right, I want to talk a little bit about career services because this is what, although people are coming for a personal, connected, and transformative experience, all of that is really geared towards helping students find their next job destination as part of their short-term, midterm, and long-term career goals and aspirations. So just quickly, you can click on that. You can scan the QR code there for our employment statistics for the class that graduated in 2024, and then we'll have the information for the class that graduated in 2025 in the September, October, November timeframe. But here you can see our career services is really an amalgamation, a combination of not only a very strong career services center with phenomenal career advisors with a wide range of experiences from banking to consulting to technology, entrepreneurship, consulting, operations. So it's a wide variety of career backgrounds, as well as a phenomenal connection to Tuck. So some of our career advisors and members of the career services team are actually Tuck alums. And so they're very well connected to the alumni network, but also very committed to ensuring that students are adequately prepared to achieve those career goals and aspirations, whether that's for the internship or for the full-time job. But career services really it's the intersection of, again, the great work of a full-service career services team that provides a lot of training and development and preparation for the career courtship process, and that is preparing students for the career search for the internship that would then lead to the full-time job. It's the intersection point for our career clubs. We have very robust clubs based on career functions, career industries, as well as functions like the consulting club or the finance club or the marketing club or the technology club. We have a very robust set of alumni career mentors. We also have Tuck centers. These, again, are also intersection points between sort of faculty, some of the research that they're doing, curriculum, industry specialists and professionals, as well as student clubs and organizations. And then there are second-year career mentors, and these are students that volunteer their time through the career services team. They get a number of hours of training, and they are there to help students develop around it could be resume review, it could be mock interview training, it could be career discernment or debriefing one of the variety of career services assessments that they do. So career services is an amalgam of all of these different areas that are all overlaid on top of each other to help students on their journey for their internship and their full-time jobs. One of the things I'll say, I've had the pleasure of working at a number of different schools. We have about 12 people in this team, maybe 13 people in this team. And that's actually quite a lot for our relatively small class size. We have an incoming class of somewhere between 295 and 300 students. And so there are 13 full-time career services advisors or specialists to help students navigate their career management. So that student to faculty ratio is quite great. And again, I encourage you to scan the QR code for the employment statistics for the class of 2024, and then we'll release information for the class of 2025 in the next month or 2 months. All right, so now we're sort of jumping into the candidate evaluation process. So if you visited our website or you're already on our mailing list, you'll know that we talk about our admissions criteria quite a bit. We've got a number of different blog posts, videos on YouTube, and it's just information on our website about this. But really, we are very transparent about who we're looking for and what we're looking for in the admissions process. It boils down to these four key criteria: smart, accomplished, aware, and encouraging. So smart, we are looking for students who are curious, they're excited by challenges, and they're motivated to learn from others' knowledge and experiences. And some of the elements of SMART are also reflected in your standardized test score. We accept the GMAT and we accept the GRE. Those are the two standardized tests that we accept. We're also looking at your academic background, whether that's your undergraduate academic background, or perhaps you have some additional coursework, or you might even already have a graduate degree or another degree. So we're looking at all of your academic background. We're looking at it from the macro level. What is your sort of grade point average? How have you done? But we're also looking at this in the micro level. We're looking at your individual courses, the decisions that you've made in the individual courses, and the grades that you've received in these individual courses. So we understand that everyone's journey through university or through their academic background might be a little bit different. We know that some people might have struggled in the transition from high school or secondary education into university. So perhaps they started off a little slow and they've sort of had an upward grade trend and they ended strong. We know that there are folks that are strong the whole way, but we're looking for those trends and we're looking for those elements in that SMART category. Accomplished, and going back to SMART, we're also looking at it from a job standpoint. So what you're currently doing in your job and sort of how does that job, the job duties and responsibilities, again, align with our assessment of your ability to be successful in the classroom. And yes, we acknowledge there are plenty of people who come from non-traditional or new traditional backgrounds, but we're still looking at what you're doing in your job as part, your current job as part of that SMART criteria. Next, we're looking for accomplished. And rather than looking at an individual job, we're looking at your series of jobs or your career progression. So we want to see where you started and your growth and development to where you are now and how that might align with some of your goals and objectives for the business school. So we are looking at sort of what you're doing on your job and your impact outside of that. We're looking for how you act with conviction, thrive in tough moments, and seek to win the right way rather than a way that might not be right. From Aware, we want students who have an understanding of who they are, what their strengths are, and more importantly, what their areas for growth and development are. And we're also keen for students to understand how the Tuck specifically the Tuck MBA can address some of those areas for growth and development on your way to achieve your short-term, midterm, and long-term goals and objectives. So again, we are looking for students who have that strong self-awareness. They know who you are. They know who you are. You know who you are. You recognize how your individuality will add to the fabric of our community and how you'll make an impact and make a difference. And then finally, we're looking for encouraging. Um, we have a very small MBA program, again, somewhere between 295 to 300 students. So steady state, there are approximately 600 students between the first year class and the second year class. So we're a relatively small business school. We really only have one academic program at the business school. And then, Dartmouth College in and of itself is a relatively small university. So our community is very strong. So that means that we are looking for students who have a strong understanding and value for collaboration, community, and teamwork. We are looking for those who actively celebrate and support others and who exhibit emotional intelligence. They layer compassion onto courage, and they challenge others tactfully and thoughtfully. One of the things that we like to ask students is, how are you uplifting others, even when sometimes that might not be to your benefit. So we're looking at all of these criteria in combination to make a decision about who we are going to admit and invite into the Tuck community. And oftentimes students will ask us, what does it take to get into Tuck? What does it take to be successful at Tuck? And then how are the alums successful as well? Actually, this boils down to these 4 criteria for all the different stages in your journey, sort of in the selection process, when you're on campus as a student, and when you're an alum and you're done with the Tuck academic experience directly. It all boils down to these 4 different criteria. Now, everyone's journey is a little bit different, and everyone articulates on these 4 criteria a little differently. We are committed and very proud of our very thorough and holistic candidate evaluation process, again, to help us select the best class to join us for the future. All right, so we're gonna dive into this a little bit. So I want to talk about your goals. We're going to ask you, tell us what your short-term and your long-term professional goals are, and this maps back to that criteria of aware. It's important to be concise and matter of fact and clear, but at the same time, your goals should be audacious and in scope, yet grounded in reality. So if you've been working in marketing your whole career, and then you tell us that you want to do impact investing, we're going to want to know, like, how do you plan to facilitate that pivot? And we're going to be looking for clues in your application that map back to that particular career pivot. So telling us your goals, again, this is a pretty short response, 300 characters. We want you to be clear, concise, and matter of fact, but your goals should be audacious and grounded in reality. And again, this maps back to the AWARE criteria. Your essays, there's a number of essays that you're required to write. So one of the essays is, why are you pursuing an MBA and why now? And how will the distinct Tuck MBA contribute to achieving your goals and aspirations? What particular aspects of Tuck will be instrumental in your growth? Again, this boils down to, why is the MBA right for you? Why is the Tuck specific MBA right for you, and how does it align with your goals and objectives? And again, you've already given us your goals, so you don't necessarily need to restate your goals, but making sure you're building the connection between the Tuck MBA and really everything that who we are as the Tuck School, how it connects back to those goals, but you don't necessarily need to restate your goals. The next question is, tell us who you are. How have your values and experiences shaped your identity and your character, and how will your unique background contribute to Tuck and/or enhance the experience of your classmates? Again, this is 2,000 characters. We want to know about the real you, who you are, what makes you you. There's no specific formula or right answer for this. We want you to tailor this to who you are. But what we want to know is, who is the person that will show up at Tuck, and how will you enrich our community? And again, I want to emphasize that there's no right answer. We want your answer. We don't want you to write what you think we want to hear. We want you to write what your experience has been and who you are. And then a third essay is describe a time when you meaningfully invested in someone else's success without immediate benefit to yourself. And again, this maps back to that encouraging criteria. So we want you to tell one specific discrete story. It can be personal or professional, and it should be relatively time-based. So it shouldn't be too far in the past. We want you to tell us when you went beyond what's expected, and you should focus on a meaningful engagement with another person or small group. Again, we want you to think about the time span here. It should be within the last 2 to 3 years, or 0 to 3 years. Once you get beyond the 3 years, that becomes less impactful. So be thoughtful about that. And again, that maps back to our encouraging criteria. We have some additional essays. So if you're a reapplicant, and we always encourage reapplicants, we ask that you respond to an additional essay. And that's how have you strengthened your candidacy since you last applied, reflect on how you have grown personally and professionally, and how your understanding of Tuck has changed or developed in the year since you last applied. And then we have an optional essay, and I'm gonna focus on the word optional. This is an area for you to provide us some additional insight or information that you have not addressed anywhere else. So this might be, but it's not exclusive to, atypical choices of references. So perhaps you have not alerted your current employer. Let's say you've just been at one employer and you haven't alerted them that you are pursuing an MBA. So it might not be in your best interest to choose a recommender from your current job, or perhaps there were some mitigating or extenuating factors that affected your academic performance during undergrad or grad school. Perhaps there are some job gaps that need to be explained, or there are some out of the ordinary changes in jobs. So you should think about the optional essay as optional. You don't it's perfectly fine if there's nothing there. You should only use that if there's discrete information that you haven't already shared. But again, the optional essay, despite what the Reddit forums and other online groups are telling you, you only need to do the optional essay if in fact you have pertinent and critical information that you haven't already shared with us in your application. All right, we're going to turn to the letters of recommendation. This is the piece that's really outside of your scope. Well, what's in your scope is choosing who's going to write your letter of recommendation, but this is the assessment of you that's coming from someone that's not you, and this is the only real assessment that we're getting about you from someone else. So we require you to submit 2 letters of recommendation unless you're a reapplicant, and then we're going to ask for you to submit 1 additional letter of recommendation from a reference on your behalf. And here's what we ask, and we're very explicit and direct about this. You can go to our website. These 4 bullet points are there. So we want the recommender to provide a description of their interactions with you, how they know you, and your role in their organization. How does the applicant's or your performance compare to that of other well-qualified individuals in similar roles? We want them to provide specific examples. And then we want the recommenders to provide or describe the most important piece of constructive feedback that they've given you. And we want the details of the circumstances and how you respond to that. And again, we give the recommenders the opportunity to provide anything else that they might want to share. Again, this is less about the title and sort of prestige of the recommender. I know that, again, some of the online forums say that you've got to get an alum, or you've got to get a managing director, or someone in the C-suite. We want you to choose someone who can speak with conviction and speak with substance and depth about you. Again, the sort of what we're asking them is right here. We want them to be able to speak with substance and depth about who you are, what your strengths are, your leadership skills. Again, what I've articulated here. And that means that might not be from someone who's in the C-suite. And many folks who just default to someone with a big name or a big title, those recommenders are pretty surface level, and they're not necessarily that impactful. So we always value we value the quality and sort of the substance and depth over the name or the title of the person who's writing the recommendation. I think sometimes students may be keen to think of including a professor or a faculty member. We're looking for professional references. So unless you are working with someone who has that title of professor, or may have been your professor that you're currently working, or you recently were working with them in a professional capacity, you really should steer clear of faculty members or academics as part of your the folks who are writing your recommendation letters. All right, and again, I already touched on this, selecting your references. Once you've identified who would like to write for you, ask them these 3 questions. Do they have the knowledge of your outcomes and your behaviors to write a compelling letter of recommendation? Do they have the desire to write you a letter of recommendation? And do they have the time to write a detailed letter of recommendation? And then how you can prepare your recommenders. You can meet with them to talk about your goals, your rationale for getting an MBA, your rationale for getting a Tuck MBA. You already have, or you should have, recent performance reviews, and then talk about your significant accomplishments. You should not write the letters of recommendations for your recommenders and just have them sign them. We make that very clear in all elements of the recommendation instructions for you as an applicant, but as well as the information that the recommenders receive when you list them as someone to write the recommendation. Again, you should take the time to be very thoughtful. Most of you are working with managers, managing directors, whoever, that are probably writing a lot of recommendations for business school. So we encourage you to be thoughtful and to exercise your due diligence to ensure that you're giving your recommenders plenty of time to submit a thorough and substantive and impactful recommendation. Because we will only review your application if you have both letters of recommendations are received by your application deadline. So if we don't receive your recommendations, we consider your application incomplete and we won't review you for the deadline that you've submitted for. So again, feel free to scan the QR code for additional advice from our blog and across our website about preparing your references. And again, you can also navigate from there to the other different elements of our candidate evaluation process. All right, the interviews are another big part of the candidate evaluation process. You are allowed to, there are 2 pathways to get an interview. One is through the guaranteed interview deadline. That's about a month before the regular deadline. Or if you don't want to submit for that guaranteed interview deadline, then you can just submit for the regular deadline, and then it is by invitation only. There's no, we offer the option to interview on campus, or in person on campus, or virtual. There's no difference in between the 2 types of interviews. You should choose the interview that is most convenient for you. Interviews are the invite to interview they're released on a rolling basis, so they're scheduled on a rolling basis. You choose the date and time that works best based on your availability, and the timing of your interview does not reflect the committee's level of interest in your application. So again, 2 pathways. You can submit your application by the guaranteed interview deadline, and then you get a guaranteed interview, or if you are ready for the regular deadline, then those interviews are by invitation only. And we're fairly generous with our interviews. The interviews are conducted by trained second-year students called TAAs. They're usually 30 to 45 minutes. And the only element of your application that they will have is your resume. At the end of the interview, you'll have the opportunity to ask them questions. And again, we talked about virtual and limited on-campus interviews. And again, we value all types of interviews equally in the evaluation process. All right, jumping forward, here's the application checklist on the side that gives you a sense of the different pieces of the application that you will need to submit. Here are our application deadlines for the upcoming year. And then on the financing your degree, there's no separate application, so all submitted applications are evaluated for merit-based scholarships and fellowships. There's a list of some of them. These are awarded at the time of admission, and they are merit-based. So they are based on the strength of a candidate's application. It's a function of the size and quality of the applicant pool, and it's always a function of what our budget is for scholarships in any given year. And then from a loan option standpoint, we have federal, institutional, and private loans. So again, you can scan that QR code and it will take you to the area of the website where you can navigate to the different elements that I've highlighted here. We encourage you to stay connected. We have already concluded our summer visit day earlier in July, but we've got our 3 Discover Tuck events, a military visit day in mid-September, our Discover Tuck Perspectives, and then Women in Business in October. If you go to our website, again, you can click on that, you can scan the QR code. You'll have access to our ambassador page where you can sort of sort and filter based on regions or career center or club interest. We've got the blog, and then you can always reach out to us via email. And that concludes the formal part of my presentation. And so now we will field questions. Now I have one rule, 2 rules actually. So you can put your question in the chat, or if you want to come off camera, we will answer questions that are from folks who are off camera. So if your camera's turned off, I'm not going to take your question. So if you want to ask a question, make sure that you turn on your camera. And I'm going to go ahead and stop the share. All right, questions?
Hi, Lawrence. I have one question. Krunal this side. I hope I'm perfectly audible.
You are audible.
Okay, thank you so much. I had got a chance to meet Tuck last week. Amy Metson was here for Seed Global Festival. So amazing meeting Tuck in person. My question was that throughout my professional life, I've also been involved with certain community activities. So I wanted to understand after coming at Tuck, what are the opportunities to contribute to the community uh, at the Tuck campus?
Yeah, so before I answer that, if you've got a question, let's keep the questions high level. So if it's a question about an individual case, feel free to email us and we can address those questions offline. All right, so your question about contributing to the community. So lots of different student clubs and organizations that interface with both the community at the Tuck School as well as at Dartmouth College and the community in sort of Hanover and the Upper Valley. So there's not a loss for opportunities to engage with a variety of different elements of the community. So that might be with other international students. That might be with others who have a similar career background or career aspirations, or it might be along something else. You might have an interest in technology, or it might not be related to any of that. You might have a strong interest in wine. We have a wine club, and they're very connected to the wine community in the Upper Valley. You might have an interest in sports. We have a very strong sports community here, both indoor sports, outdoor sports, winter sports, fall sports, you name it. And then there are opportunities outside, again, of the business school and the university to get engaged with the community of sort of Hanover, the town that we're in, as well as the Upper Valley itself. Really, and if there's an opportunity that doesn't exist, we're happy to work with you to try to facilitate some way for you to engage and to gather support from your classmates to engage in that area of community engagement.
Sure. Thank you so much, Lawrence. One last question I had. This is more of a generic question. It was regarding the recent visa pauses by the US government on certain countries. So would want to understand, is the admission strategy for Tuck has seen any change or any shift in its policy from the previous year international intakes
Yeah,
basis the
there's really no, yeah, thank you for that question. There's really no strategy, right? So these are policies that impact not just Tuck, but all universities, business schools, medical schools, law schools, etc. So we are working closely with those students, or at least for this year, those international students who are struggling getting their visas and sort of getting visa interviews or visa approvals. We're working closely with our office for visa for visitors and international student services. We've got a tie-in. We stay up to date on the State Department and the different changes in the policies. So this year, this is, to be quite honest, this is really about navigating changes that are happening in real time. We are experiencing those changes the same as you are as a prospective student, or perhaps there may be some folks that are participating today that are admitted to schools and are hoping to come to school in the fall. So we're trying to navigate those and sort of build out our policy as we sort of figure out what our administration's policies and approaches are going to be. So we're working very closely with the international students. We are partnering with them to make sure that we are doing what we can to support them in their journey to get a Tuck MBA.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, what other questions? And again, if you're going to ask a question, please come off camera. Let's see here. Let's go down to some questions. There were questions about the years of work experience. You should see there should be information on our class profile about years of work experience. So on average, for most MBA program, most notable MBA programs, that years of work experience is like 3 to 5. And the range and sort of average is like 5.25. Again, we don't have a minimum or a maximum. We don't typically admit students who have less than 3 years of professional work experience by the time they enroll in the program. And on the other end of the spectrum, again, there's no upper limit. It really isn't. It really is a question of why you're getting the MBA. And students with both on the low end and on the high end should really be thoughtful about how they answer that question, why now? So why are you pursuing an MBA now? On the younger side, why aren't you waiting a few more years? And the books with a little bit more life and work experience, why have you waited for this long? Again, there's not a right or a wrong answer, but we want to know that you've actually put some thought in that.
Hello, Lawrence. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hello, this is Kevin. Thank you for the time and
Yeah.
a really nice presentation. A lot of insights drawn from it. I was just wondering, how would you describe the Latin American student that usually gets into tech?
Yeah, I mean, whether they're Latin American or from Europe or from Africa or from India, it all boils back to those four admissions criteria, right? So from an admission standpoint, but I think we have a unique geography. We're not in a big city. You have to be very intentional to be here. So we're looking for students who want a small MBA program. We're looking for students, I shouldn't say we're looking for, students are attracted to Tuck because it's a small MBA program. Students are attracted to Tuck because they get an immersive experience without the distractions of a larger city. I came from managing an MBA program in New York City. And as much as New York City is a benefit, and we would always sell that the MBA is in your backyard, the reality is that many of these MBA programs in bigger cities, the students actually come from there. So they've already got their own networks and they've already got their own schedules, and they're not as committed to engaging with the student population. They get to school in the morning, and as soon as classes are done, they're off back to their regular life. So Tuck is a little bit different in that when you come here, there's not a lot of distraction. So you are really focused on you and your own growth and development, as well as your relationship with the Tuck community, the Dartmouth community, and the community here in Hanover. And that's just something that's a benefit for us because we are really committed to being a partner with you. Like at the end of your first year, you will know everybody in your class. Actually, by the end of your first term with us, so after Tuck launch and after the summer term, you'll know everybody in your class. You may not be best friends with everyone, but you'll know at least a sentence or two about everyone's background in your class. You can't say that at much larger schools where there are lots of distractions.
Thank you. And then a follow-up question would be, what activities are there for partners and families to get involved?
Great question. So we have a very robust Tuck Partners Association, and so these are the folks that are accompanying the students, and it's a wide range of people. And so the Tuck Partners is actually a recognized student group or recognized group with support from the business school. Students have access to the building, they have access to audit classes. There's a professional development component to them, so they've got the full support. We recognize that partners and significant others play an enormous role in the decision-making process for the students. And so we value them immensely.
Thank you
That
so
was a great
much.
question. Other questions?
Go ahead, Audrey.
Thank you. Hello, thank you for this session. So my question is about like individual advice. Does Tuck offer either student ambassadors or a meeting with the admissions committee for kind of one-on-one advice?
Yeah, so we don't do one-on-one sessions with the admissions committee, but you're more than welcome, and we encourage you to reach out to any of the Tuck ambassadors. And again, there's about 75 Tuck ambassadors online, and you can reach out to them directly. We also encourage you to come and visit us, to engage with us, whether that's virtually at a number of virtual events or in person at a variety of events that we're doing around the world. And we also encourage you to reach out to our alumni network via LinkedIn. So, one thing I will say, Tuckies, that's the colloquial term that we use for students and graduates or alums. Tuckies are very keen to respond quickly. So if you reach out to them online to the student ambassadors or via LinkedIn, they tend to get back to you very quickly. So we encourage you to connect and engage with the community in that way.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Other questions? This wasn't asked, but I will say test waivers and fee waivers are often a question. We do offer a test waiver option for those highly qualified applicants. So you could go online and look at the details, but high level, if you've got a strong quantitative sort of focused undergraduate degree, you could qualify for a test waiver. Perhaps you've got a graduate degree or additional coursework that is heavily quant focused or data focused. That might be another way that you could qualify for a test waiver. Or if your day-to-day job is heavily steeped in quant and data analytics, that could be another way that you could qualify for a standardized test waiver. The more of those three buckets that you check off, the more likely it is that you are going to qualify for a test waiver. And just being very direct, students who are sort of traditional undergraduate business majors, that doesn't count as a quantitative background. And students who come from an accounting background, that doesn't count as a quantitative background as well. Again, if you go to our website, we've outlined it with a high level of specificity around the different sort of academic areas and sort of professional areas that we're looking at when we're assessing whether or not we are going to allow you to do a test waiver. On the other side, there's an application fee waiver. And again, all of this information is outlined in great specificity on our website. And there's a wide variety of ways that you may qualify for an application fee waiver. It's important to note that you cannot get an application fee waiver and a test waiver in the same year. And if you applied last year and received a test waiver or an application fee waiver, you can't get one this year.
Thank you so much, Lawrence. It was a great session. Thank you all for joining the taxation at application walkthrough. And again, thank you for all the guidance, all the valuable insights, Lawrence. And we hope this session helps you feel more confident as you prepare your application. And best of luck. And we look forward to seeing you at our future events, and stay connected with TAC to learn more about them. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.